They're just
That's okay.
crazy, crazy busy.
I know how they're riding public roads in the kitchen.
23922, I'd say that's not on you. How you doing?
I couldn't hear.
No, I was talking to him, I was throwing my voice, so I was looking at you, and I was talking to him, I just had it home all the time.
We go in here this week last year. It was Athens' first time going to Athens. Oh, yeah, and then like, the road, so we have.
Yep, that's what we approved on those roads, like, what road number on that list to do, we started paying the bills on that, and paid them, and now the state's reimbursing us back for the pay, may go part of that. Oh, paid it out of the road.
Right. So we still mind for an hour.
I do not have a missed call
So good.
from you.
We'll see what happens.
I mean, I don't have one.
Yeah, I called your cell phone, I got both your numbers in my cell contact list.
This is my last call, this Saturday. So, yeah,
Oh, thank you. I knew that.
There was one I called or not.
should. And I'm sorry.
No, it's okay. I just wanted to know that because, you know, I went back into the meeting and pulled out the files for that, and never did say who we, couldn't find out who gave the quote to. I thought it was
Their
them.
quote was weird because you couldn't see their name right off the top, it wasn't them. But the $500 for moving furniture actually was quoted, it wasn't added to the total. So this is the hallways were just full. I mean, they were 411. Just didn't go over the meter, didn't talk.
I think
What about the extra paint? Somebody gives you a quote for painting, you know, if they gave me a quote at my house,
Yeah,
and they come and say, well, we use more paint.
yeah, yeah. Well, I think it was for extra paint, I think.
Yeah.
I think that's
Some of
what
it
she
was.
said.
Same thing with the quarter, you know, if you lay the floor down, they don't have the edges to sit on the quarter.
And I told her that, she came up with this, I said, y'all need to.
Don't cover live tonight.
Can do
I
that?
said,
Don't
because
cover live
number
tonight.
one, coming back and get it later, it's really good. It does, it does. Oh, there's money in there, I feel like this is, but I didn't like the other one. I should have known.
So we're gonna do
That $500 just the cost package. We've got 300 pounds of file cabinet. It's, I don't have anybody.
But I didn't read in there where it was extra if they had to move.
Everything's always
I think
interesting.
it's close.
I didn't see it, but that's why I was
Close.
like,
I think it was one of the first things, and I wish I would have brought it forward.
I've got
Do you have it? Look right at the beginning. How you doing? I think it's in there. It's $500 if you have to move furniture. Because I'm almost positive I went back and bought it. They did a pretty good job. I mean, for the most part, yeah, they're putting outlet covers back on and just stuff like that. I mean, they were literally on. It looks so good. Carpet's gone.
That's basically the agenda there, but it's got things you fix up to kind of be a meeting sheet. Use off their notepads or whatever, and then there's something they can scribble down notes on.
See how we just get it up.
Young lady working in Hines always say, got it, I don't know what it would be, but I mean, it's been a while now, so you don't get older and all.
When I was in the system.
Whatever, but no, older, it might be easy, just as easy to go ahead and contact Secretary of State or somewhere and get a copy of it. Especially if you get a hold of the right person up there to deal with, and get somebody that's been there very long.
Right.
One stone brook from my regular doctor and a little more off the desk itself.
Yeah, the agenda for this meeting is roll call, new business, ARPA funding, and then adjournment. Sounds good.
We'll get started now.
Well, okay, I'm going to go ahead and call this meeting to order. This is a special call meeting, 5 o'clock, Monday, October 18th, or 5:30 rather. Thank you. There's really just one thing on the agenda where we're going to talk about ARPA funding. We're going to have to do a little bit of tap dancing here for a few minutes because Danielle just notified me a little while ago that she was going to be running a bit late. So I thought maybe what we could do, I know one of the things that we're hopefully going to talk about this evening is the broadband expansion, which I think is a no-brainer for use of ARPA funding to try to expand broadband throughout the county. I also want to talk about the possibility of expanding our recreation. We heard the last meeting about the special needs playground, which could, I see it almost as an economic development type of a project for bringing people in outside of the county that might enjoy something like that if it's done right. In addition to maybe some ball fields, like a recreation sports complex of some kind of. I don't know if there's support around this table for that. I guess we'll find out. But as you all know, we relinquished our leasehold interest in roughly 300 acres on the Corps of Engineer property. That went back to our Department of Parks, Frankfurt, and what formerly was Edgewater, it's now Cottages on the Lake or something like that, is leasing directly from state parks, but not the entire land area that we relinquished our leasehold interest in. So there's a possibility of approaching the Department of Parks and trying to release a portion of that number of acres. I'm not sure exactly what that would be, but that would hopefully give us land out of the floodplain where we could build soccer field, baseball fields, pickleball, I understand, very popular, possibly consider this playground, and concessions and all that up out of the floodplain. So again, I don't know if there's support around the table. I believe that that is going to be a legitimate use of ARPA funds. And, but I'd like to hear from you all about what you would like to, if you have any ideas of what we might talk to this evening, use the ARPA funds. We've got $3.758 million, 2 tranches. We've already drawn down the first tranche of roughly 1.8 million. And, so anyway, I'm just going to open it up to you all to give me input, give the rest of the members of the board input about what you'd like to use ARPA money for. And you're Ben.
Correct, yes.
Okay, we've got Ben Ucelis here with Spectrum. That's going to be, if you look, he sent me this afternoon the resolution that I passed out to everyone in order for us to move forward with Spectrum on expansion of broadband. Ben, I heard from Danielle, I don't know if you were here when I said that, Danielle's running a bit late.
Okay.
So if you'd like to go ahead, unless somebody would like to chime in and talk about what you might want to use ARPA money for, I'll go ahead and have Ben come up and talk about what Spectrum can do, and the reason that this resolution is in front of you.
Judge, I'd like to make a statement.
Go ahead.
As we proceed with discussions on spending the first of two $1.88 billion allocations of the 2021 COVID-19 stimulus package, we must remind ourselves and our constituents several undeniable truths. Let us not forget the party line split of this bill and the resulting economic fallout from the hypocrisy in this bill and the Biden administration policies. Number one, the $1.9 trillion economic stimulus package was passed during a time when our federal government actively destroyed our economy by shutting down American oil pipelines while propping up Russian oil pipelines, opening our southern border to the entire world in an inhumane, illegal process, and without the same COVID restrictions and protections demanded on American citizens, pushing job-killing mandates such as vaccinations while incentivizing the unemployed to remain unemployed, and reinstituting transportation regulations on truck drivers, previously suspended by President Trump. Number two, the initial House bill vote was 218 to 212 before being amended. Number three, the initial Senate vote to start the reconciliation process was a tie across party lines and broken by Vice President Kamala Harris. The House followed with a 219 to 209 vote. Number four, the House Budget Committee split their passing vote 19 to 16. And the revised House bill passed 219 to 212 on February 27, 2021. Number five, on March 10, 2021, the Senate version of this bill passed 50 to 49. And the amended House bill passed 220 to 211. Only one Democrat voted against the final bill with all the Republicans. The bill was signed into law on March 11, 2021 by President Joe Biden. And finally, the funds from the American Rescue Plan Act arrived in Spencer County at a time when our receipts are up, even during a pandemic year. As with any federal funds, there are restrictions, reporting, and bureaucratic hoops to prevent penalties. Funds from ARPA are no exception, and KIPTA is coming to the rescue with extensive services for participating Kentucky counties while being paid 1% of each county's ARPA funds, whether spent or not. Already, several entities surfaced looking for a piece of the Spencer County allotment of the Biden Rescue Plan. Well, who pays? President Biden says it's free. Oh, wait. He was referring to the $5 trillion infrastructure bill on top of the $1.9 trillion ARPA. We're at a point where the grandchildren of people not yet born will pay for this reckless track towards socialism. Local and state governments must push back and not take the bait. The insatiable greed of all levels of government who do nothing to make money will always be at the tax dollar trough, ready to mismanage the people's money. This is our chance to push back and say, this county will not be a part of the socialist agenda. Folks, we're a very small part of this very large scheme. It's up to each of us to decide our morals on spending and being slave to the lender. Does your support for spending these funds in Spencer County meet any moral criteria? Assessment on greed, or is there a fear of a missed opportunity to better our community by becoming a slave to our federal government for years to come?
Okay. Anybody care to weigh in on that?
I'd like a copy for the records, please.
Yeah. Please.
I will just say once again that nobody sitting in this room gave back the stimulus checks that the government sent you for your personal house. I look at this stimulus as a stimulus for the county. And anytime that we can invest in our county to make it better, I think it's a good opportunity to do that.
Yeah, I bought ammunition and food storage.
Let's see Danielle coming. Anybody else care to weigh in on that?
Hi.
Hi there, Danielle.
I'm so sorry.
Anybody care to weigh in? By the way, Mike is not going to be able to join us this evening. I guess I'll get a motion for this meeting and also for the next meeting to excuse
So moved.
his absence. We've got a motion, we've got a second.
Who's the second, please?
Bart Travis.
Thank you.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. Square Beaver's not, was that going to lead into a motion, or did you just want to make that statement?
Making the statement.
Okay. Anybody else want to weigh in? If not,
And that didn't fix the problem.
didn't fix the problem.
Yeah, you did.
We put a shielded cable on this system back here, thinking that would fix that, that noise, but it didn't. So, I'll go ahead then and ask Danielle. I've just kind of prepped everybody that, we're here. This is a special call meeting. We're going to talk about ARPA funds, and Ben Ucelis is here with Spectrum. I'm asking all the magistrates to give me ideas of what they want to use ARPA money for. Star Beaverson is just weighed in with a fairly lengthy statement against using any of the money, I believe. And I'm not sure that's going to be the sentiment of the whole court. But, so I'm going to turn it over to you for the time being, unless somebody has something.
Well, right now, I don't know specifically what you wanted me to speak on. We can start with some basic do's and don'ts, I guess.
I'd like to dive right on into expanding broadband, since Ben is here, and get your advice and guidance on this, because
Yeah, broadband is an eligible expenditure, so that's not gonna be anything that you all have an issue with. It's plainly stated, just the same thing, like water and sewer infrastructure is listed in there, very plainly stated as an eligible expenditure. Broadband is, and spoken of in that same context. So broadband is, you're good to go there. You would just, you know, once you decide to make that expenditure, how you would just need to pass a resolution. Again, the importance of all of your expenditures as it comes to the reporting component, because that's what HIP is helping you with on that reporting side, is that you will have to, when you pass a resolution, make sure it ties back into the specific guidance and quote, like, this is an eligible expenditure as stated on page X of the inter final rule and as defined further in the FAQs, you know, like you break that down how it's an eligible expense.
Did you see the resolution or sample resolution that Dan had sent out earlier today? Does this address what she was just talking about?
Potentially not. So that is a sample resolution that is actually included in the RFP that is tied to the broadband grant program. It's not specifically about a local use of ARPA funds. So there may be something, Danielle probably is the expert on this, but you may want to add things to that.
Yes.
To incorporate those.
And is there any, do you know, as far as the state grant, is there, I can't imagine that there would be any sort of issue with editing this resolution so that it included specific ARPA language?
No, not at all. I think
Just as long as it had it kept these elements.
Basically, they're just looking for some form of commitment of funds, and even these funds, you're committing them for this application, but no funds are hard and fast committed until your application is accepted and approved and you sit down with the state and iron out the details. So, yeah, basically all you need is some form of resolution stating an allotment of the funds, and then some sort of bank statement or ARPA statement showing that there are funds available.
Okay.
And these would have to be officially, you know, on reporting purposes, so you would then officially have to have those obligated in your budget. As a, you know.
So would we have to do a budget amendment before we could do it?
No, I
Okay.
don't think so.
All right. Well, there's a couple of things that, first of all, this resolution you indicated needed to be, or the application process is deadline of October 25th. We're not going to have another fiscal court meeting between now and October 25th. So that's why I went ahead and got this on our stationery, and I don't know if it's appropriate to pass this, but of course I also got a very similar resolution from Bardstown Cable, who is servicing some of the areas in the southern part of our county. They want also a commitment, I think, of $50,000 or something like that. And I didn't know how the two of you all could work together, or
Yeah, I'm happy to talk to that. So I would say, you know, it's absolutely in the county's interest and ability to enter into these agreements with as many providers as you want. I can't imagine that both projects would be chosen, but maybe because there's probably overlap in the households that we're looking at, because we're looking at the unserved households. We're looking at households that don't have service today. So of the almost 1,300 that we had in our project, I'm sure maybe some of the ones that are in their project are the same. And so they probably couldn't award both of them because there'd be overlap, or I don't know how they would carve that out, I'm not really sure. But it's, you know, it's absolutely within the county's power and ability to do that with as many providers as possible.
I just wasn't sure whether that needed to be ironed out and lines drawn and all that before resolutions were passed to support one or the other, or can we support multiple applications?
It's possible that you could, but again, like you said, you're going to want to make sure that they're not, that there's probably overlap. So you're not going to pay $50,000 of county funds if you're already paying, if you end up paying towards their support, you're not going to pay to cover the same area.
I know Boone County, I'm talking to Judge Moore up there, I think they're using Cincinnati Bell.
Yes.
And they say that's not an exclusive provide. There are other providers that can work within Boone County. And I was relieved to hear that, because I don't really necessarily want to get into an exclusive.
And none of this is
one or nobody. I like the idea, and it may be quicker to service our county if Bardstown Cable is already servicing some areas of your district out there in the southern part of the county. If they can get it done quicker to expand what they're already servicing, in addition to what you all are proposing to do. I just wasn't sure. None of that's going to get ironed out by October 25th. So I wasn't sure if it would be your recommendation to go ahead and pass this resolution supporting Spectrum. And then I also had a visit from AT&T earlier today. Of course, they're kind of late in getting into the process at this point. Ben, can you explain, and I don't know if I've forwarded all the communications that we've had out to everybody on the court, but you've calculated basically expanding to cover every unserved.
Yeah. So what we've done is we've basically mapped out the county using all public data available to us. So we've looked at where our own service footprint is currently, and then for anywhere that we're not, we can look and see what the advertised speeds are for certain census block areas, and kind of piece together a project that way. And so basically we have identified 1,287 or so households, those are either homes or businesses, in the county that are currently don't have service that is at least 25 meg. Most of those are going to be under 10 meg, which means it's just super slow service. Obviously, these are the more rural parts of the county. And so what we've done is once we finish that mapping project, we can assign a cost to it, basically figuring out what it would cost us to build that if we went out and build it tomorrow. And I think the total cost was around $8 million to build everything out. So we can go after half of that money from the state's broadband grant program they've set up. The state has put $250 million at least into this program. This first piece that is due next week is the initial $50 million that they are putting out for.
That's what this resolution is in support of your application for
this first round of funding.
The first round of funding.
Correct.
This would be specifically for Spencer County, but you're also doing the same thing in Shelby and some other counties.
Yes, Shelby, Trimble, Henry, I think quite a few in this area have really good projects, fortunately, that we're hopeful can make progress on. Every county is different. Every county is going to have a different number of homes and different costs. There are some counties where we found a project where we don't even need the county to contribute. We're still asking those counties to contribute because in the state RFP, it says that it'll look favorably on any applications where a county is contributing. Some will, some won't, I'm sure. We're trying to iron all that out this week. But yes, this is for that initial $50 million in funding that is available this round. No other funding will be available until at least next April. I think throughout session we'll figure out if they need to fine tune anything and then release additional funds sometime next year. So we're just trying to, we know everybody needs broadband and they need it tomorrow because it's a pressing need for folks. So we're just trying to squeeze as much as we can in through this funnel for this first round and see what we can get done. With regard to your comments earlier, yes, none of this is exclusive. So even if you went in with only us and we got an award, there's nothing precluding anyone from still going out and building those areas.
They just wouldn't have access to the matching
Or the matching
the state funds, or they would have to do it without a commitment of our ARPA funds.
That's probably.
But they're free to expand if it's.
Right. And then with regard to Bardstown Cable or AT&T or anyone else, again, you're more than welcome to enter those agreements with as many providers as possible. I think the way it would be sorted out is that if you have multiple, my guess, and this is just a guess based on my reading of the RFP, is that if there are multiple applications for a county, say all three of us, say we put one in, AT&T put one in, Barstown Cable put one in. Yeah, I would say it's unlikely, especially in this first round, that you're gonna get more than one, right? So they'll probably say, Spencer County, you get this one project. And so that one provider moves forward so that they don't have to deal with an overlapping, because in our application, which we're already in the process of putting applications together for Spencer County and everywhere else, so assuming that move forward. In our application, we're including address level data for the houses we're hitting, all this very fine detail about the project. So, I guess it's possible that maybe the state's going to look at that and carve it up somehow, but my guess is it's more likely that they'll just say, you get one project for this round and here's who you're going with.
And the deadline is October 25th. How long do you expect it's going to take for the state to decide whether Spencer County is going to be, or Spectrum will be awarded?
Yeah. So it
You're
is,
the applicant, right?
we are. Yeah, we would enlist you as a contributing partner. You would have that, we would copy that resolution, and then, like I say, the statement of funds, and that's all that the county has to do. We handle all the rest. With regard to timelines, there is a challenge process that goes through December 3rd. So our project would be put out there, and any other provider can say, hey, I already service that household, they have really fast speed, they don't need it. That gets carved out of our project. So we'll be doing the same thing. If someone is trying to use funds in an area where we already provide fast speeds, there's no use putting the funds in there. So that process will go through early December. And then my guess is, probably first of next year is when they will finalize awards. We'll sit down with the state, we'll sign the dotted line, and we'll get rolling. I will say everything, a lot of this is going to depend on how many applications get awarded and all of that. But we're looking to build everything that we're submitting in a 2 to 3 year process. So that if we want an award with Spencer County, our goal would be to have everything completed. Or we're committing to a 2 to 3 year process. So our goal would be to do it in that time frame or shorter. We're building like crazy across the state. There's already been a first round of federal funds earlier this year that impacted a few counties, unfortunately not Spencer. That was kind of out of our hands though, it was through the FCC. So we have a whole other, we've set up an entire new construction unit that is solely dedicated to broadband expansion. They're hiring like crazy, and they don't see a slowdown anytime soon.
So what you were in the process of kind of running these numbers down, you look to expand broadband to all of Spencer County. You're looking at somewhere around $8 million.
Yes, and I should say this is not all of Spencer County. So this is only
unserved.
Unserved. So
Yeah.
definitely less than
To build out what's not already in service.
So there's probably some that might have medium quality DSL service or something like that, where they're getting 100 megs or something like that. We could not include that in our application to the state.
Okay.
So this would be the ones that are most in need.
And the application is going to ask the state to pay half of the $8 million,
Yes.
$4 million.
Yes.
Then the balance of the $4 million, Spectrum pays the lion's share of that. And what you indicated to me was that Spencer County's share would be somewhere around $500,000.
Yeah.
But when I saw that, I thought, well, that's completely doable because of what we have in the bank already from the ARPA funds. And it's just a matter of us agreeing that, yeah,
I think
passing the resolution and I've got the letter of support for your application. And then you need the proof of funds. That's easy to get treasurer.
Yeah, it would be at least about a $3.5 million investment from us in the county to go along with the $500,000 commitment from the county. The good news too is that this is the first round at it. Hopefully we get it. If we don't, we've got the application packaged up and ready to go for next round, and we'll just keep at it until we get it. So the hope would be, when we saw that large amount of money being invested in broadband, when this was initially discussed a couple years ago, we thought there might be $50 million in the whole program. Now that there's 250, it could be as high as $300 million, depending on how they allocate some things.
From the state level?
From the state level, yes. We feel like if they use that wisely, and I know it's a big if, but if you use that wisely, $300 million, because that's the $300 million at a 50% match. So providers are going to be putting up at least $300 million of their own funds. So that's a $500 million investment to get broadband out throughout the state. We feel like that could really do it. That could get the majority of the unserved population covered. So it's just a matter of getting the applications together and seeing if they get approved in the state and get them through.
And this is all what they refer to as last mile, build out the last mile. But none of this money is really going to go to Kentucky Wire to build their infrastructure, and it's going to providers like Spectrum or AT&T or Part-Time Cable or whatever in order to build the last mile and get the service to the home. So
that's correct. And in fact, what we're doing, I can't speak for all providers, but what we're doing is actually full fiber to the home of every household. So every household we connect, I don't care how far out in the county it is, will have access to the same super fast speeds that someone right here in Taylorsville or downtown Louisville or wherever has access to. And same, they'll also have access to our video service, phone service, mobile service, and all that.
So without this funding, it's a business decision for you, or Part-Time Cable, or AT&T, or whatever you say. And it just doesn't make business sense for us to fiber back this rural area when there's 5 homes.
Yeah.
This helps you all to be able to say, yeah, with that funding, it makes it possible.
Absolutely. And you and I have talked about rural broadband for years.
Right.
Most county judges that I know, we've talked about it for years. And, you know, it was frustrating because obviously we're in the business of adding customers. We want to add customers. But you look at some of these areas where it's, you're going a mile down the road to pick up maybe 2 or 3 households, and there's just not a financial model that makes sense for that. That's why no one's done it. That's why Kentucky Wire hasn't done it. That's why we haven't done it.
I really wish that Kentucky Wire had partnered up with you guys.
Absolutely.
It would have made more sense. But
Yeah, if they had invested what they invested in Kentucky Wire into this kind of a grant program back then, this would have been taken care of by now. But you learn lessons.
You see that the state's gonna kick in $4 million?
4 million, yes.
Okay. There's 120 counties in the state. If they kicked in $4 million for each county, that's $480 million. Okay, we're the 4th smallest in the state. So that means the majority of the counties are gonna get more than $4 million. So we got $250 million from the state, so where's that other, that's gonna probably go up to $1 billion when it's all said and done. So where's that money gonna come from, to divvy out to everybody?
It's a good question. So I guess that's true. And I will say too that while Spencer County is, I mean, you're right, because and as we've been looking at this, I said that I thought 300 to 600 million basically combined would cover it. But frankly, what we're seeing and what I expect the legislature to do next year is to maybe fine tune some of this a little bit, because what we're finding is that when we're going out to really rural counties, when we're down in eastern Kentucky, or I was just talking to the Buffalo Trace Area Development District this morning. I don't have any good projects for them right now because it's really rural, and even asking for us to even get to 50% of a project is tough. And so we're having to kind of be creative and come up with, we're working with them on some other ways to do it. But you're right, it may not cover everyone. It'll make a really sizable dent in it, I think. But you're right, it probably won't cover everyone. But we're just trying to stretch it as far as we can. And when I quote those costs, the $8 million for us to extend service, that's not any profit or markup on our end. That is labor, materials, equipment to just deliver the service.
But you will get the business 10, 15, 20 years down the road. You will continue to reap the profit from this.
Correct. That's the hope. But again, there's no guarantee either when we build it. There's no guarantee that we're getting sign-ups. I mean, our hope is that these folks don't have high speeds today, so they'll sign up for us. But we could build this entire network out and no one signs up, and it doesn't change our commitment to.
If you build the broadband, the infrastructure of it, can other companies come in and use your wires?
So we own all of our own stuff, and we don't have an open network like that. So ours is.
So you basically have a monopoly on it if you got it.
I mean, it wouldn't be a monopoly, but we would be the provider for that area. It's possible that another provider could come in and serve it. It's unlikely, because we're this far into the history of broadband and no one has, which is why they're dedicating funds to reaching these areas, because there's been no purely private enterprise that's been able to do it. So that's why they've taken this route.
If y'all are the only company in here, then you can set your own rates and jack them anytime you want to.
I guess technically we could, but we won't. And so when I mentioned that everyone on our network will have access to the same level of service and speeds, everyone will have access to the same rates. Our goal is to treat everyone on our network the same. We don't want to have people who are paying higher rates, or getting lower speeds or anything like that. So when we hook up the last house in Spencer County, while there might be different promotions and packages going on, the base rate for internet speed for that person will be the same as anywhere else. We also have low-income services and opportunities that will be available to anyone on our network.
And that would be excuse me, a minimum speed of what?
The low-income one? Or
Yeah.
So for our regular everyday customers, the minimum speed is 200 meg.
Oh, okay.
We have a 400 meg product and then a gigabit product. And in fact, that product will now be a gigabit by 1 gigabit download by 500 upload speed. Our low income offering is a 30 meg service for $18 a month, and it's for families on free and reduced lunch or seniors on supplemental income.
Okay. Well, I guess, go ahead.
Now, you're talking about far reaches of Spencer County, but there's places right down here in Elk Creek that you can't get internet. I'm assuming those places will be taken care of as well.
I would have to see if they are in this project. So again, remember this project is not hitting every single home, because it's only hitting those homes that are eligible for the state grant, which means that, so this.
Unserved or underserved?
Unserved or underserved, but also the only way, the hardest part of this whole rural broadband game now is figuring out and being able to pinpoint every single household that doesn't have service. Because you're right, there might be one right down the street that doesn't have it. Number one, if it's close enough, we can take a look at that and see if it makes sense for us to just build off our network and do it anyway. Number two, if our network is here today and we're expanding to the far reaches of the county tomorrow, our hope is that in order for the fiber to get out there, we're going to have to go through some other areas too, and we can hopefully pick up. So my hope is that 1,287 number is a baseline, not a ceiling. So we're continuing to add. But the way the data works and the way we're able to do our mapping, because we don't know where AT&T's customers are and what speeds they have, or Barstow Cable or anyone else. So we use census block data as a baseline method for how we do this. And so if someone in that census block is showing that they're getting faster speeds, it can make the whole census block look like they're getting faster speeds. So I almost am viewing this as phase one of a project for a lot of these counties. There are other methods we could take to, whether it's digging down into that data and trying to get more granular and make sure we're hitting every household that is truly unserved. There are local partnerships where you're not beholden to the state's rules. Scott County we just partnered with where they're just using their local funds directly with us instead of using state funds, and they're going where we're going to guarantee basically that every household in Scott County has it. Now they're putting their local funds up for the project, which allows us to hit every single home, and then we're going to go on the back end and try to get them some money back by going after state funds. There's a bunch of different ways to slice this up, and we're interested in partnering in any way the county would like. But for this specific purpose, this is the first round of state funding, which is all of the 1,286, 87 homes that we've identified as having less than 25 maybe in this week.
When you're talking about running the cable to each house, is that correct? Did I understand that right?
Fiber, yes.
Fiber cable, okay. All right, what about the people that is being served by the satellite? Are you, and they're getting service out of that. And you're saying if you already got service over 25 megawatts or something, then y'all not going to give them service. Is that the way, did I misunderstand that?
No, so if they are getting service, I don't remember how we treat satellite in our data, whether we're factoring that in or not, but if they are receiving service today that is above 25 meg speeds, chances are they are not in this project. They could be in a future project. We'll be more than willing to talk about other ways we can hit additional homes. But if a household has more than at least 25 megabits of service from someone, they shouldn't be in our project. And so that those 1,286 homes would truly be the ones who have nothing.
See, I think most of my area has satellites.
When you say satellite,
Y'all wouldn't do us any good.
when you say satellite, do you mean like, so there's
Satellite, disc, or whatever we call them.
So that's for video, and that's.
No, we use it on the internet.
Oh, okay. Then that would be I could be wrong, and I'm talking out of my company, but I think AT&T and direct partner, and so I can't speak to that. Anywhere we have a wireless mobile product, but we don't have any satellite or what this is called fixed wireless service that serves people's homes. All of ours is wired, so that's the goal for us. We actually did some studies into fixed wireless and other types of technologies to reach rural areas, and it was good, but what we found is that it was just kind of inadequate, and it wasn't giving rural folks the same level of service that urban, suburban folks have. And so we decided if we're going to do this, we're going to run our fiber all the way to someone's house and make sure they have everything that everybody else does.
But then the people that's got the satellites, you're not going to run it to them because they've already got service. Is that what I'm trying to, it's just in my mind.
Yeah, so.
You know, we're talking about something 500,000. And we're giving y'all money to come in, for y'all to make money. I question that a little bit. And you say you're going to do every house, and then you turn around and say, well, if they got service, we're not going to give it to them. So why should we take taxpayers' money and start this thing when I'm completely confused on it? It don't seem like to me you're going to do us any good out in the rural area.
I think this is going to serve the most rural areas of the county. Because the reason I hesitated to say we're going to serve every household is because we're not going to serve every household. Because there are certain households that do have a decent level of service that even if we wanted to, we couldn't apply for state funding, at least not at this round. So this 1,286 homes, those are homes that will be served, or at least will have the opportunity to have our service. So we may run right by their house and they say, you know what, I've got my satellite service and I'm happy, I don't need it. But they'll at least have the opportunity. So
but they could be identified in this 1,287. It could be somebody using satellite.
As long as they fall under that low speed requirement.
The 25 meg.
Yeah, if I tried to if someone was getting 100 megabit speed, and I tried to include them in this application, it would probably get crossed out by the state. So this is the most we found we could do this round. And again, it's going to hit those folks who have little to no service right now. But when I say little to no, like if you're at home and you have less than 25 megabits of service, that's not great internet speed. You're not going to be able to do a whole lot. And so those are the folks that we're really focused on with this, and that's what those are the parameters of the state program. So I couldn't include anyone who had higher service right now.
See, we got jacked around by AT&T, and our legislators in Frankfurt that AT&T no longer had to furnish phone service. And that come out of Frankfurt. And they was gonna take that money instead of running cables, or running telephone lines to everybody. And doing all this internet stuff up. But it's just another lie where the farmers and the people out in the rural areas get jacked around. And we can thank Frankfurt for that. And they no longer have to give for several years. You can build a new house, if they don't want to put you in a phone line, they don't have to. Well, years ago, they had to. And it just seems like the rural areas get jacked around, and jacked around. Well, we're gonna put one to every house, but no, we're not gonna do it. You know, to me, you're contradicting yourself. Either you're gonna put a line to every house in the county, or you're not.
I'm gonna put a line to every house we've identified that we can do through this program, which is the 1,286, which is the households. They are gonna be mostly very rural households that don't have access today. I'd love to put a line to every household in the county. I really would. Our company would too. We can't do it under this program, under this round, but we can do 1,286 homes.
Who said you got lines for the round?
Kentucky Infrastructure Authority. And so we were, you know, we've been working in Frankfurt on this for a long time, hand in hand with the Farm Bureau. They were instrumental in passing a lot of the deals about this. They are the ones who put these requirements in about focusing on under 25 megabits household, because they believed that would target that money at the most rural areas, so that chances are I'm not picking up the household that's, you know, a mile down the road here. I'm getting the areas that are much further out, where there are those census blocks where no one has any good internet. And that's where we're focused on with these 1,286 homes.
Who has a list of this 1,287 households?
So I have a map of them. My team is getting me an address list this week that I'll be submitting with our application, so you'll be able to see the exact location.
Who makes a decision on this? Is that Kentucky Infrastructure Authority?
Yes.
So they review the applications and make adjustments or whatever and decide, okay, you know, likely there's only one applicant in the county, but there could be multiple applicants. Is Shelby County, I know is a county you've been working on, is that application going into this round?
Yes.
Or is it already in?
It'll be going in this round.
Okay. Because initially, when we started on this with, and I talked to Danielle and Jared down in KIPTA and said, you know, wouldn't it make sense to try to do something on a regional basis in the KIPTA ad district? But it got too unwieldy to, and the deadlines and so forth, so it's better to go on and just do county by county. So,
well, on top of that, since you're limited per application, you can only ask for up to $5 million. So I originally had the same idea. I was like, let's talk to KIPTA, because if we're going to do a project with you all and Spencer and Henry and Trimble or whoever else, because it might make more sense for us to streamline it that way. But you know, if we're asking for $4 million here, I think the Shelby counties, I think I might even have to split it into two projects to fit under the $5 million threshold. It just, the multi-county approach makes it harder. So that's another thing I wouldn't be surprised if they fine-tune and tweak. But like when I'm looking at Eastern Kentucky, unless I can piece together like 4 or 5 counties, there's not a way for me to make it make sense.
will the providers be able to tap into the Kentucky Wire infrastructure? Or?
In a perfect world, we would be. And we've worked with Kentucky Wire in the very early days, 6 or so years ago, to figure that out. It would have to be an area where our service isn't already there. A lot of areas that they're building, we have fiber running there as well, so it wouldn't make sense for us to tap into theirs. And then even in some areas where they might have fiber running, it all depends on what they would charge. I don't think at this point we've even gotten the cost from them on what it would take for us to attach to their lines like that. But we're open to any solution. That just hasn't presented itself as a feasible.
Do you recall roughly how many underserved or unserved areas, or households rather, or businesses are in Shelby County?
I think their project is, we have about 2,500 households that we've identified there.
Versus our, roughly double what we,
Yeah.
Okay. Well, so essentially, we need to, as fiscal court, make a decision. Do we want to move forward with this application that Spectrum is submitting and try to get the ball rolling at least what we can, 1,287 homes or businesses in Spencer County? Or if we opt not to do that, essentially we're just going to be waiting for the next round, which would be sometime after the first of the year, like April, would you say?
Yeah, they've said no additional funds will be dispersed until next April.
Yeah, so,
And as
this,
far as, sorry, but
Go ahead.
if you can go ahead and pass this resolution this evening to move forward on that. You would just need to pass a second resolution to specifically dedicate ARPA funding for this purpose. So at the next fiscal court meeting, there would need to be a resolution.
and that would be okay,
That would be
because that's
fine.
going to be, into November, but.
That's fine.
Yeah.
Yeah, we just, for the purposes of reporting for ARPA, I would just have to have a resolution specific for that purpose.
Okay, and you can help draft that
Yep.
resolution for us, okay?
Yep.
Now, is like AT&T, are they interested in doing what you're doing?
I
know you can't speak
honestly
for
don't know. I haven't seen them, I mean, they've participated, so I mentioned Scott County, who put out an RFP for a local partner. I'm pretty sure AT&T bid on that as well. I don't know their overall intentions about what they're planning to do. All I can tell you is like, I've been in government affairs for forever as well. I'm not a fiber salesman or anything like that. I don't draw commissions on this at all. My job is, in the past, has just been to work with Judge Riley and seeing if there was anything we could do. But for the first time ever, our company, like if you could listen to our earnings calls for our entire company, and the number one focus is expanding rural broadband, which is kind of an exciting time. I've been here a decade and had so many conversations with judges like yours that trying to get service out here and trying to find solutions, and it hasn't always had good results. And so finally we're seeing kind of a little bit of a glimmer of a light at the end of the tunnel where we can get these rural households actually hooked up, and so that's what we're trying to do.
But we as fiscal court, we always harp on, if we've got a project that's cost X amount of dollars, we want 2, 3, 4 bids on it, and you're the first one. Do we do this now, and without having anybody else to come and talk to us like you are, say from AT&T, or I don't know who else is out there that would be involved in it?
My guess is that you would have probably heard from,
You what?
my guess is that you probably would have heard from any company that would be interested in applying for this particular
But I
round
mean,
of
has this
funding by
been-
now.
Has this been advertised that we're
Yeah,
interested?
you can speak to how private companies found out about the grant funding. For this specific grant cycle anyways, most private companies, at least in my experience with the counties in our region, any entity, any private company that was interested in expansion or interested in pursuing a grant would have contacted the county by this point if they were interested in applying for this grant.
Who has there's only a limited number, you and AT&T, is there anyone else that would have the capability of covering all of Spencer County, the unserved or underserved in Spencer County? Bardstown Cable's not capable of doing that, I wouldn't think. They can do a portion of it, but.
Yeah, there's no doubt that providers like us, we have the largest fiber network built across the state. And up until this point, that's been totally built with our own money, our own funds. And now that there are federal, state, local funds being put towards expanding that into areas where previously didn't make sense for us to extend private capital, we're looking at that. So yes, anyone like us or AT&T, any of the phone companies, anyone who has existing infrastructure is obviously going to be in a better position to expand that infrastructure. But there's nothing prohibiting a brand new company from going in and trying to go after some of these funds. I wouldn't be surprised if we actually see some of that in certain places.
Could be,
where
yeah.
some company says, you know what, we could build out and get some of it subsidized with government funds and just build like crazy. So I think, you know, it's exciting for a company like ours because we get a chance to expand, but I think it actually will open up opportunities for other companies to come in and compete and offer services that maybe they couldn't before, so.
Will this have any effect at all on cabling, cable TV, anything like that? Just
No, everyone will have access to our video product. You know, that's, when I started 11 years ago, I remember our first big announcement was that we were launching like 7 HD channels. That was the biggest thing you could do back then. And since then, you know, everyone has shifted away from traditional cable TV. It's still offered, obviously, I still have it. But more and more people go to streaming. We have our own streaming app service where I can pull up my home video on my phone right now. Every customer that gets connected to this will have access to all that.
Danielle, let me ask you this, is there anything in terms of the procurement side of this, or were we required to put out a
As far as-
RFP? Or
As far as ARPA is concerned, you have to adhere to any of your state or local
So are we
procurement
beyond the
policies.
point of, I mean, can we even do this without?
I mean, based on my understanding, whatever your all's local procurement policies are, and if that is that you typically get, you bid out, then I can't see that you being able to proceed without adhering to your procurement policy. I mean, that's, and I just attended a webinar today that restated that from Chaos.
So I know you all have done RFPs, or various counties have done RFPs, and did you do Warren County, or?
Well, they put out an RFP. We weren't the chosen provider, but they did put out an RFP. So what we've seen so far are RFPs for direct local partners. We have not seen any RFPs yet. Maybe that's a lesson learned, I don't know, but for state broadband grant partners. And so, I'm not an expert on procurement law. I will say we've had several counties that have handled this differently. Some are just going ahead and doing it, and they're saying, you know, the state issued an RFP back in August or whenever it was originally came out, and all providers had access to that. It's very clearly outlined in there that county contributions are welcome and encouraged. And so I think some counties are just viewing that as the RFP they're responding to. Others, I think, are looking at it because it's non-exclusive. You could do this with us and with Bardstown Cable or AT&T or whoever else, and that it's not even binding officially until the project is accepted and signed for early next year. You could decide to back out, even if our project was chosen and money got tight or something. Something terrible happened, and you needed those funds for something else. You could back out. One other county is trying an approach where instead of saying they're dedicating their funding to us specifically, they're just saying we are dedicating X amount of funds to broadband and using that for our application. And they're saying anyone can use this for their application. I've seen a lot of different approaches for it, and I'm not the legal expert that can say which way is right or wrong, but whatever the county feels is best, we'll move forward on.
Yeah, I mean, as far as procurement, I just know that you're supposed to adhere to state and local procurement policy. So within your procurement policy, if there is, you know, if there's the sole source language, potentially that could be
I
utilized
don't think
here.
that would apply here
Probably.
necessarily, yeah.
Yeah.
So I guess I'm just looking for legal guidance on how to proceed, and I'm just not sure we're really in a position to move forward at least this evening. And we've got another meeting coming up here at 7. Perhaps maybe some other things to talk to Danielle about. What's the feeling of the court? Would you prefer to move forward and try to do something on this first round of funding and do that through Spectrum, or just hold off and try try to get in on the next round of funding. And what really brought a lot of this, to the immediate forefront is COVID and distance, the virtual learning and Zoom meetings, and people realizing I don't have enough speed here to even log on to this Zoom meeting. We're being broadcast now live, so I'm sure there's people in the county that may not be able to even access it. You hear of the people that go over to the Wi-Fi because the library has a Wi-Fi or whatever. So, I don't know, I'm going to open it up.
Another two things. Going back to Squire Moody's question, even if they have dish, they could still possibly qualify because their speed isn't high enough, is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. Second thing is, this is the reason why Squire Beaverson and myself months ago requested to get proposals so that we could have this, to be studied. Instead of, tonight we have to make a decision one way or the other. That's just not a good way to do business. I don't like to have to, make a $500,000 decision at the spur of the moment without having all the information. It says right here that we've reviewed, the contents of the project. I haven't even seen the project, so I'd love to move forward, but I don't think that we're in a position to do that.
Yeah, that's kind of my feeling. Much as I'd like to move forward with this and start making a pathway to get the internet to underserved or unserved areas of our county, I just don't think we're, frankly, I would vote for it, but I'd be out on a limb not knowing whether it's a procurement.
I would like to see, like you said, commit $500,000 to the project, but not necessarily to Spectrum. Put it out there on the table for anybody else that wants to come in to our next meeting, or our next meeting, or our next meeting. Yeah. And let them give their points like you, instead of just you.
And that's fine with me. Look, I'll just say, I'm open to whatever the court wants to do. I wanted to just present this as an opportunity. If there's a way to have, if there's anything I can put in this application to show funding, I'll do it, and I'll put it in this round. If it's not, if we're not there, I'll put this on the back burner, and we'll revisit it in April when it comes back around again. And we're maybe we can try to even identify even more homes if we can.
How many rounds? You keep saying rounds.
Yeah. So there will be.
How many rounds will there be?
To be determined. I mean, there will at least be one more because there's still 250 or so million in the fund that they have to disperse with. So whether they do that all next year or do a couple rounds a year, I'm not sure. I don't even know if they know that yet. But
I've said many a time, I'd like to make Spencer County the broadband capital of Kentucky, but to move forward tonight, I don't think that we're prepared to do that, especially with getting last minute information.
From an ARPA standpoint, I can also reach out to KLC to make sure that we do everything in accordance before the next round. So to make sure that you have everything in place by April so that you can do, if you want to commit $500,000, that we go through the proper procurement procedure for such, and that you are in good shape to award that to whomever for the next round.
I don't have my, who else on Brett's on the telecommunication, Mike, are you in there? I mean, it really is right up to the telecommunications committee's alley. It's more than stuff. My intention is not to throw something at the last minute. I just know that they're putting in this application. Same thing with Parstown Cable. I talked to him this afternoon. They're pushing the same deadline, October 25th.
yeah, I think everybody was tight this round. I mean, it came out in August, which meant you had that much time to do these designs and figure out was there a project and how much is it going to cost and what's the process for application to kind of learn the whole thing. The one thing I think that the state's probably going to have to wrestle with, and I'm not sure they know how to do this yet, but with this, because you all aren't the only ones who thought about this from a procurement standpoint, But the only problem with procurement in something like this is that you're taking what is currently an open process where you have the ability to enter with multiple providers and narrowing it down to one, right? By going through a procurement process. I guess not necessarily, I guess you
Yeah,
would
I
have
don't want
multiple
an
providers.
exclusive.
Yeah, that's true, never mind, I guess that makes sense, so.
Boone County went through an RFP process and awarded it to Cincinnati Bell, but it's not an exclusive.
Right, it's just exclusive for that
Yeah.
set of funds.
How did Shelby County handle this? They put out an RFP or anything?
No, they are, and I'm not sure exactly what steps they're taking yet. They may be doing, like you mentioned, and just allocating that money to broadband for any provider to use for an application. That might be the route that they end up taking.
So if we amended this resolution to support $100,000
So what I would say is if you did that, if you said, we passed a resolution to allocate $500,000 to broadband, I would go ahead and submit the application with Spencer County and show that, and copy that applicant, copy that resolution and the ARPA statement on there and move forward.
without it being a resolution specifically mentioned.
It might, yeah, it may not be 100% what the state's looking for, but I'd try to squeeze it by for sure. Why not?
Now, what happens if we don't get the time?
Well, we've got the 500,000.
They will okay that.
We got 1.8 million.
I realize that, but we gotta watch out the
It's an eligible, no, it's an eligible expense.
It is an eligible.
Yep, it's very clear in the guidelines that broadband is an eligible
Oh,
expense.
you're dealing with the government.
Well, based on what documentation I have, that's one of the clearer guidelines, actually, expenditures. And so like broadband, water, and wastewater are very clearly outlined as eligible expenses, and you will have no issue as an expenditure for that.
I wish that
If we
would
don't
pass,
get approved,
but
then are y'all gonna give us the 500?
Well, there is no approval, and that's how this isn't like a reimbursable thing. You all already have the money. You all are the ones making the decisions based on the Treasury's guidance and FAQs that they put out. I also hope you interpret that. My interpretation of that is that it's an eligible expense. You all ultimately make the decision. So there is no way, there is absolutely no way that broadband wouldn't be covered. It is plainly stated in multiple areas in all the guidance. But if an expenditure, if you all do make an expenditure that you get audited and they claim that or not, then no, comes back to fiscal court. If you all do make an expenditure that they determined was not eligible. But broadband, I can say with 100% certainty, is an eligible expense.
okay, well, is it safe to say we're not gonna take any action on this evening? We're gonna wait for the next round?
I would be okay with saying that we're gonna put 500,000 towards the broadband, regardless of who gets the contract to do it, and get the ball rolling. I mean, either we decide we're gonna do it, or we're not gonna do it. I think that's one of the things that we need in the county, that would help the county. So it's eligible. We can get the ball rolling on it. I just don't want to get one company involved in it. I want other people to come in too. So.
That makes a different, that's a different ballgame when we open it up to everybody.
Exactly, yeah. I mean, if we're saying, we're willing to put 500,000 out on the table, you guys come in and see what you can do with this, and give us your, like you did, and I appreciate you. Very, very good information. That's what I think.
Well, just looking over this resolution, I don't know if there's a way we can quickly amend it or whatever to.
We got those 25th,
What's today's the 18th?
we don't have to amend it tonight.
Well, we would have to come back and have another special meeting in order to pass the resolution, so, I don't think you want to give me blanket approval or write a resolution. Well, I think it's probably safe to say, it's unfortunate, but I think it's probably safe to say that we're not going to move forward with this, and there's probably, I know there's going to be some folks disappointed within our county, but, we have to be cautious and careful, and I don't think there's, we are missing one magistrate this evening, so I think it's safe to say that this is pretty much dead for this meeting, and likely for the first round of state monies, which would be about $4 million. So it's unfortunate, but I just think does that sound like a pretty well?
What would it take to amend that tonight that we can agree upon? I mean, surely it couldn't be that much of a wording change.
Well, I can hand it to Ben or Danielle, and, we can see if we can come up with a reasonable amendment that we can pass during our regular meeting, our next meeting, so, if you want to do that. So, but, if let me ask you this, is there support? If we amend this to not be specific to Spectrum, just committing $500,000 to broadband expansion of ARPA money, is it reasonable to think that would pass this court this evening? There's a no and there's a yes. And Jerry, you'd probably be a no, I guess.
Let him speak for himself.
Well, everybody's going to speak for themselves. We're not going to sit here all night. We've got another meeting coming up. Some other things I'd like to talk to Danielle about. So
I'd like to do some another company. I mean, I can't even buy a car without this.
Well, that's the one thing that we're doing is by revamping the resolution, we're opening it up to other companies to be able to come in. My question to you is, say we approve the $500,000 to just not necessarily to Spectrum. What happens if you go and it gets cut down? We owe nothing, right? If you
Well, like I said, even if we are awarded our project, Spencer County could back out before we sign. We wouldn't sign on the dotted line until early next year.
I like the way you think.
So it's up to the court.
And we're legal to do that, is that correct?
I don't know, I mean, I think yes, but I have not and I would be consulting her, I think, about whether or not, and it sounds like it's a for sure covered thing.
Oh,
Now,
yeah.
the rules about being committed and that kind of stuff after, but I assume he's telling us exactly
Oh,
what
no.
it is.
Yeah,
If we
anytime,
don't
yeah.
vote for it, it doesn't happen.
Right, and anytime that you're awarded any grant, anytime, even though you all been awarded money, that going to be required as a match, you all can, in any federal award or any state grant, that you don't have to follow through even if you've been awarded. So that's in any case. So he is that is accurate, that you wouldn't have to.
Ben, would you be willing to take a look at this resolution
I'll
and
pull it up right now.
revise it and maybe give us something that we can look at during our next meeting, which will be starting here in about 20 minutes?
Sure. I'll get to work.
No pressure.
Hope I have good broadband here.
Do you need this or?
That's the one I sent you. I've got it.
Yeah, I think I just made one small correction down there. The very last line is certified that the above resolution was adopted by Spencer County Fiscal Court.
Okay.
So anyway, so you can bring that back to our next meeting. We'll just add that to our agenda. Real quickly, because we're running out of time. And you can't use ARPA money to provide a match for another federal grant.
That is correct.
Okay. And that, I assume, is with this issue, because the state, we're not using this to, I mean, the state's putting up ARPA money, and if we put up ARPA money too, is that not providing a match for another federal grant, or it's all one grant?
It's coming through the state,
Through
so
the
it's
state,
not
okay.
considered, yeah.
Okay, now, that's going to bring me to the ball field lighting question, which, on that, they've committed $49,500 is land and water grant. We can't use ARPA money, excuse me, to provide the match. So we have to decide, because I don't think that the Baseball Association or the Brian Bears Foundation is in a position to provide the match. So we do have that out for bid currently, and I think that bids close the 10th. But we're going to have to, one thing that I talked to Danielle about is, we can opt to forego the land and water grant and just say, no, never mind, we changed our mind, we don't want to use that, and pay for the entire project with ARPA money. But then that puts us in kind of a bad light if we apply for another land.
Yeah, and so when I reached out about that, and that is something that you absolutely can do, and you all are not the only community that's considering that, because a lot of folks that had committed general funds for their match and are now going to try to utilize all their ARPA funds. But you do, Jessica Hill at DLG, she's the program manager over Land and Water and Rec Trails. She said it will be taken into consideration if you, reject the award. That goes into consideration in future applications.
Yeah.
I do not know what to what degree, for how long that's taken into consideration. She didn't elaborate.
It would not put us in good light.
Right. It just would. Yeah. They would just not like that they awarded you funds and then you turn it.
Let's not use their money, we'll use our own, but it's gonna penalize us. I like it.
Well, let me ask you, would it be illegal for us to donate $50,000 to the Baseball Association?
Well, we just provide
And
the
then-
match. I mean,
Well, no, we'll go a different route. We donate $50,000 to the Baseball Association, and then they contribute the $50,000 to their.
that's using federal money to match.
Yeah, it would still be federal funds because you will be, because if you're giving, if it came out of your general fund, then you could just provide the match yourselves. But if you were if you were to justify that the Baseball Association was negatively impacted by COVID and there was some sort of process, like an application process to demonstrate the negative financial impact that the Baseball Association had received due to COVID, and you all wanted to provide a grant to them, they are still considered a subrecipient and required to federal reporting and how those funds are used. So you would see that you use federal funds to match federal funds.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's my recommendation that we, find the matching funds for that project within our general fund somehow, some way.
So,
which we should be able.
Well, you should be able to, because maybe there is a project that you could fund through ARPA that you wouldn't have had to.
Okay, let's quickly fast forward to one of the things that you feel pretty strongly about that qualifies for ARPA, using ARPA money, is outdoor recreation.
That's correct.
Okay, so we had a presentation at our last meeting. There's quite a bit of support for it. Really, I don't know if I'm on this table, but there's quite a bit of support for it. Is providing playgrounds that accommodate special needs folks, either children or even up to adults. Some of these are pretty elaborate playgrounds. I think Hardin County or E-Town is doing one in the neighborhood of around $500,000. There's been $1 million project.
Yeah, that is, in the guidance that expanding outdoor recreation and park facilities is one of the items that is clearly delineated, because as they have encouraged folks to safely gather during COVID in outdoor spaces, the information that we would have to provide in conjunction with you all allocating the funds for that expenditure would be a brief narrative with a demographic breakup. So it is clearly an approved, if you're in a qualified census tract. There are no qualified census tracts in Spencer County. However, you can use demographic data as well. You can use qualified census tract, or you break down the percentage of your population that is considered would have been more negatively impacted by COVID. So that is your 65 plus population. That's your children who weren't able to get vaccinated. This also could be any low or minority income population that you have. And so we would just break down those demographics, which your 65 plus population would be an adequate percentage to put forth.
Okay, so just thinking out loud, is that we relinquished our leasehold interest in about 300 acres of Corps of Engineer property up on the Edgewater and the lake. And I just wondered if it would be worthwhile, and I know if we could get some help from you guys at KIPA and maybe DLG to approach the Department of Parks to release some of that 300 acres. The Edgewater Resort, cottages by the lake is what they're going by now, is leasing a part of that 300 acres, just where the cottages are, directly from parks. But that leaves a significant amount of land, a lot of it fairly flat and out of the floodplain, that, I'd like to think of approaching Department of Parks to see if they would release 100 acres or 150 acres or whatever back to Spencer County for the purpose of building a sports complex in addition to a major special needs playground. I don't know.
No, I do not believe the sports complex would be covered.
You don't, okay.
I mean, I'd have to get, I'd
The
have to.
playground could.
Yes, the playground. I would need further information around the scope of what you're talking about for me to get further clarification. I absolutely know that the playground facility would. I do not know about, I don't know what kind of sports complex you're referencing here, so I would just need more information.
Baseball field, soccer field.
Potentially, yes. I just would need that broken down, what that scope is. But potentially, yes, it could all be funded by ARPA.
Okay.
You asked if any of us had any ideas about
Yes.
this. I do, and I'm looking into farmer's market pavilion, okay? A building, 10,000 square feet, okay? It would be agritourism. If we're looking at it to be a regional farmer's market, not just strictly Spencer County farmer's market, it would be used for a lot of other different activities other than the farmer's market.
And it would be like an open air pavilion?
Well, it'd be enclosed and open air basically together. We could use it as a COVID testing facility if this came back again, or we could drive right through it and have COVID testing.
There is potential there. I would need, if I get a clearly defined scope of the need, why you need it related to COVID, and then all the uses that would be intended for that space.
Would purchase land for this building to sit on to qualify as part of it?
Potentially, yes. If the project in its entirety is eligible. But it could be that they come back and say, well, only this portion of what you described would be eligible, so therefore it would have to be proportional to the project. So they might say, well, only 20% of what you're wanting to do actually is eligible. So then only 20% of ARPA funds could be offered.
We've got kind of a similar issue with ambulance. The fact that we need an ambulance, and we're talking about the possibility of building some facilities out in certain parts of the county for, to basically have an ambulance on call, more than just what we've got downtown here. But is that, to build a building and maybe buy land or buy the ambulance?
So again, so I'm going to say no to the buildings outright. The ambulance, the only way you can purchase an ambulance is if you. So I spoke with Chris about this. You have to expand the fleet. It can't be a replacement vehicle. It has to be an expansion vehicle, and you have to be able to make a COVID justification. So you have to have data that indicates that you had to have an additional fleet vehicle because you couldn't handle the capacity due to the increased COVID runs. So if you have data that supports that, then you can move forward with an ambulance purchase.
Okay, real quick. If we did, if we did that and purchased an ambulance, okay, and we meet those qualifications, and it's added on, is there a stipulation time-wise, when we could get rid of one of our oldest units that, say, it replaced.
Actually, I don't know the answer to that question. That would be something for me to look into. Is there a time period that you?
You know,
that
from the time we got
they're
the
going
new
to
one, it would take 12 months before you can sell one
Yeah,
of your
that's a good
oldest.
question. I don't know. I've not seen anything about a timeline specifically in the guidance, but that could be something KLC's dug into in more detail that I'm just not aware
I
of.
think Shelby
Because,
County
I
is,
mean, you know, we're always surplusing vehicles as they get
Mhm.
older, and if we've got an ambulance that's old and we don't need
My
it
guess,
anymore.
I mean, my guess is, my thoughts on this are that, that there probably is some sort of guideline, and I don't know if it's like for the duration of of when these funds are being spent, but, because they would want to make sure that you're not, pulling a fast one.
Sure.
yeah, we would not want the,
Everybody's gonna do that.
auditor, the auditors to come in and say, oops, no, that's not gonna, you're gonna need to pay that money back.
Yeah, you can't, as long as you have data to support that you need an additional fleet, yes. I do not know the answer, I will follow up. I do not know the answer if there's an appropriate, if there's a set timeline and when you can actually surplus your older vehicle.
Real quick, Barbara,
Being in Dayton.
Outdoor recreation parks and stuff, can we use ARPA money to upgrade those parks?
Yes, again, there's two ways that you can confirm whether or not it's an eligible ARPA expenditure for that. So you have to either provide that there was increased usage and maintenance, there was increased maintenance cost due to the increased usage of parks, or we document that you have population that was more negatively impacted for COVID. Therefore, it becomes an eligible expense. So that's your 65 plus, your children, your low-income folks.
What about purchasing vacant land for a new park?
You can do that too.
That would qualify.
Yes, there's a county that has done that. So that I saw, there's an ordinance related to that. That they are purchasing land to develop a new park.
I know that there's been grant money also that has been for that purpose too.
There is grant money for parks, but again, that is usually it's capped at, it's like $250,000 total project with 50% matching requirement, and that's the Land and Water Conservation Fund grant that y'all were awarded.
any of you, we're gonna go ahead and get to an adjournment of this meeting and begin our next meeting. Any of you, we contracted with Fiscal and Danielle, so if you've got a question about any of this stuff,
Yeah,
that's what she's there for.
Shoot me an email. Mhm, got it.
Yeah, shoot her an email or give her a phone call. She'll be happy to talk to you.
Does anyone know how many households there is in Spencer County?
How many total number of households?
Yes,
5,000.
5,700 something.
Yeah.
I think it's a little under 6,000.
Yeah.
there's 6,700,
Daniel's.
Give or take.
okay. But they just talked about 12,000.
1,200.
1,200.
1,200.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, almost 1,300. Underserved or
Underserved or not.
So that's,
pretty good chunk of the county, really.
That's almost a quarter of the county.
Yeah.
That's underserved.
Okay, so we're gonna wrap up this meeting with did you have something else? You got a motion. We got a motion to adjourn by Squire, Brewer, excuse me, and Squire Beaverson seconded that motion. All those in favor say aye. Aye. We are now adjourned, and we were, going to go into another meeting. You need an agenda.
Extension off?
Yeah, you're good.
I'm Jack.
Shove that on. There we go.